Coming to you from Studio HQ, this is a new episode of SunderKatz. Why Sunder? Because we're talking about something different. And why Katz is because we're the coolest cats in town. And speaking of cats, I've got my man Manny. Say hello.
What's happening, team?
And exciting, like we got two new cats joining us. One is Tracy, a longtime Crusader. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Quite excited about today.
Yeah, and I'm quite excited too. And I've got Paul or Rabbit, P Rabbit joining us. What's up?
What's happening, guys? Ready for this? Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm Dodgy in the mix, of course. Yeah, so today's episode is going to be quite interesting because we're talking about a publisher that is relatively new. It's a 10-year-old company started in 2012 in Los Angeles. That is Black Mask Studios. And, you know, as I said, it's a relatively new company. Tracy, you know, going to start with you. So, you know, Black Mask have been around a little while. What are your recollections of this company?
I think for me, the biggest thing that stands out for this company is how amazing they are to the people that contribute to it. You go onto their website and not only do you have an amazing amount of unusual content that is not mainstream, that is definitely niche market, but you also have lists to everybody who has contributed to this site. It's phenomenal. You don't see that very often. And then they also have submissions for people, not only just artists and already created comics, but also for writers, which again, very few people do. So for a young company to be doing this, it's high praise from me, for sure.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts, Rabbit?
And the thing about it is, it's like they don't handicap their people. Whenever you're looking at their books, there's a wide variety of things. If you open up their books and you start to notice that one subject matters in one book and a total different subject matters in another one, it just doesn't handicap just about any of their lines. So whenever you're looking in this title, you expect something different each time.
Yeah, definitely. And Manny, how did you find the navigation of the website?
I'm actually browsing it right now as we're talking, and it's very easy to access. Very clear. Yeah, I like it. Not too
really
busy,
is.
not too complicated.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I found as well. And I like the fact that, you know, you can scroll through and just find the different book titles, and they have categories from that book title itself. And I mean, look at these T-shirts. It's
Yeah. I'll be getting some of them.
nice. Which one would you be rocking?
From the image here, I like obviously the female T-shirt, but I also like a yellow T-shirt every now and again just to keep it bright. But
absolutely.
That's some great things to tie in with what they're doing as well, which is really nice. It's nice to have decent merch rather than just like your logo thrown on everything. It's nice to have something different.
Yeah, and and you look at the key people involved in the creation of the company, like Matt Pizzola, who's got books that we're going to be talking about later. Brett Gurewitz, sorry if I'm like butchering your name, and Steve Niles. These guys just brought up the concept. One was a filmmaker, one was a partner, a business partner, and basically decided to go comics. Like, I don't know, like, so but I'm going to ask you, Rabbit, because you're a writer. Did you think about writing for films when you began your thought journey, or was it just about comics in general?
Well, I don't know if anyone ever just goes in comics. I'm sure a lot of them do. I think I really started thinking about books and then chapter books, and it just so happened that I landed with comics because I was interacting with my kids and they were into it at that time. So a lot of people's journey just goes from one medium to another, and comics where we land the most.
Yeah. How about you, Manny? Like, I know you're a creator as well. When you thought about, your stories for Truthful Comics, where did they come up? Like, was it general comics or?
Seriously, for me, it was always comics. That's how I always visualize it. but I've been so infatuated with the medium since I was so little that
Yeah,
that's
that's
all.
fair.
That's all I really, that's all
Yeah.
I love.
Hmm. How about you, Tracy?
I was the same. I am a big nerd. Always have been a comic book lover. Um, to be honest with you, I never envisioned of being a writer ever until I was in my late 20s. Because I'm dyslexic and I wasn't diagnosed until I was in my mid 20s. So
Mhm.
it was only because a very wonderfully loving friend of mine bullied me into writing a story for one of his comics.
I know who you're talking
And
about.
yeah, we do. And I wrote a silly story about my favorite character from one of his books, who's an old lady grandma, and about a sandwich shortage. And he put it in one of his books, and that was it. I was hooked,
Yeah.
and I, started helping other kids, and having a platform for other people to come on board as well. And that's where I am now.
Yeah. How dare they have a sandwich shortage? That just is.
I know, right? It's so good. The ladies were standing outside their bingo hall giving out because they had no corned beef for their sandwiches. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm just outraged right now. But one thing that's good though, I'm not going to be outraged anymore because we are talking about comics, and in particular, Black Mask. So look, we're going to be jumping into the books now and just show everyone what we're getting into. The first book is Black AF, America's Sweetheart, written by Kwanzaa Ozayefo, designed by Tim Smith III, artist Jennifer Johnson, letterer David Sharp, editor Sarah Litt, and publisher Matt Pizzolo, who I mentioned before as one of the key figures for Black Mask. Upon looking in this book, Tracy, what really stood out to you?
The illustrations were beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be honest, and the lettering. Um, it was a bit of a slow burn to start, and then
Mm-hmm.
it just picked up, and you get very much a superhero good slash the boys mixed together feeling when you kind of
Mm-hmm.
read this comic. And it was just paced very well about halfway through and onwards. But the illustrations are beautiful. There's I can't even give out. I'm very no. I normally give out about body image or the anatomy of people, but it was looked at really well and drawn very well, especially because our main character is a young adolescent woman. So
Mm-hmm.
I really like this book and where it was going.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Rabbit? Did you like the writing? Like, what would you say about the writing style in this book?
Well, I got to say that actually, out of all the books that I read, on this platform, I think this book was the best. It was so unique, the way
Mm-hmm.
the paneling was put and the structures, and the way they incorporated the texting and that unique style. I thought was amazing. I think there was definitely
Yeah.
one or two issues in the end game of the book, but the overall
Mm-hmm.
feel was unique. I thought in a
Mm-hmm.
certain kind of comfortable way, because it was the characters were kind of how you felt comfortable with most characters, but they did it in a
Mm-hmm.
good twist.
Yeah, definitely. But Manny, the actual art style like is very bright and colorful. Like, what did you
It
see
is.
as in your creative aspect?
Yeah, it is. It caught me off guard. It's very, the way I describe it is like a children's book and like type of artwork.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy because if I'm not mistaken, the book is not for it's not all ages. I think the book
Yeah.
is for mature audiences. But the way they illustrate it it almost looks like an all ages book. Um, it's very I'm sure it's digital art, and it's they skipped the whole inking process. They just went from pencils to coloring. Um,
Yeah.
it's very unique style. I really dig it. Um,
Yeah.
I almost feel like in my opinion, is I think it's a missed opportunity to make it mature for mature audiences. Because she's such a cool role model for teenage girls or boys. The way the character is established. I think it's a missed opportunity to make it just for mature audiences. But yeah, the artwork is really really cool.
Yeah, I don't think it's off the mark. Like if we're comparing this to say Invincible, you could almost edit this to become an all ages book. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that gore factor of heads being torn off and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think
it has a range for it to go that way. If they want to do it further down the line, I think they just wanted to hit this subject matter head on in the book, which was a really interesting fact to see this subject matter spoken so plainly.
Yes.
It was very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main reason why I feel is mature for mature audiences is because of the racial undertones, which is not undertones. It's very much about racial discrimination and stuff like that. Is how they turn it up a notch, making only black people having superpowers and stuff.
And
so
they kind of just hit you with that right away. I mean, it was just flying out there. Now, later on in the book, it made you feel more comfortable, especially with the fight settings and whatnot. But yeah, that racial tones, it really wasn't undertones at all.
No, it was right in your face. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know the creative team, but I have a guess with the writer. Must be from African ancestry. So if it were written by a white writer, I think we're having a completely different conversation right here. Like, I don't think I'd be very comfortable with this at all. But I do feel like I'm kind of pleased that there is an African writer involved. But I kind of wish that this was the kind of story we had with the original Superman concept, being orphaned and being adopted by parents. And not just being Caucasian when he comes from Krypton, which is like a completely different planet. Why does he have to look Caucasian? Like, that's my question. I'm kind of happy to see a superhero of of African ancestry or African American, but I'm really happy to see that we've got a character here that, and she's likable too. Like, that's the thing I like.
She is, yeah. I agree with you. It's very much in the Superman vein,
Yes.
I noticed that, and it's also true that Superman, even though he's an alien, he looks like a white guy. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly, yeah.
It's hard, I would imagine, for a person like him to not associate with or not familiarize with the struggles of other people, because he looks like the people in charge, you know what I'm saying? But
because he's got white privilege.
I honestly felt that this was two books. That first half, which was a little bit slower and that we've all heard and read before, and then that second half, which was more of the fighting and made you feel more comfortable and furthering the story, though.
Yeah.
So you want to say something, Tracy?
I was just going to say, I just think it's wonderful, as I said at the start, to have a comic book out there that is very much in your face about what it's saying. To have a female, a young female, coming into her own as a person of color, as the main character in an extremely interesting book that can go in very different directions. It should be. Why is this an indie book, and why do we not have this in our mainstream? Is what blows my mind. This story is as relevant as anything in the news today.
Yeah.
And it was so well done.
Really?
I think that's why they did the super overcolored, bright, like 90s style coloring on these, was to kind of diffuse the tension in relation to the actual subject matter, so that it could be used and could be spoken about in an adult way.
Yeah. No, 100%. Speaking of colors, look at the background. Like that's actually amazing. They could have just left it like a black plain color, but they've given it so much shade. It looks amazing.
No, that was really good.
Yes. And now we'll move on to the next book, which is God Killer Tomorrow's Ashes, #1. Written by Matteo Pizzolo, we mentioned before. Artist Anna Muckracker.
Hmm.
and letters by Jim Campbell, production artist Phil Smith. So I mentioned this off show that this was actually a illustrated film that came out in 2010, and in the beginning of this title, it does say that you need to read the God Killer Walk Among Us Volume 1 and 2. But as a great Jim Shooter once said, this, even though you do need to read the previous issues, this could be someone's very first comic book, which is for us technically.
Yeah.
So we basically fit in there. But this was quite an interesting read. I kind of had to do some retakes. Tracy, what did you get out of this?
Out of all the books I read, it wasn't my favorite, purely because I enjoyed the subject matter of other books more. But it's a visually stunning. They have some very, very much a. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of the anime that it reminds me of, and it's gone from my brain. But it's got a very anime feel. So it has, again, it's got a lot of subject matter that relates to certain subcultures and certain people, and it will appease a lot. But it's beautiful. Like, just going through the pages that's what I did first. I just went through the pages before I read it, and some of the pages you could take out and have art on your wall.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Even this panel here.
Yeah. Like, everything about the style of it is beautiful.
So I want to reiterate. I mean, the images, the art, it was beautifully mastered, and on especially some of the pages, it was just exquisite. I think the story was a little hampered by shock factors that didn't need to be as shocking. And I think those overtones in the story were a little too much and could have been brought down, but overall it worked. The ending I probably was a little lost with, but again, it might have been I needed to read those other two books. I don't know if y'all felt the same. The last 4 pages had like that short story, and I didn't exactly know where that was coming from.
No.
Full disclosure, I didn't read the last 4 or 5 pages.
Oh, well, then you didn't.
Okay.
You didn't miss it.
No, it is very much a hodgepodge. I felt like, just, I guess because I think in the beginning it was right that you did need to read a bit to understand, but I did understand what was happening with gosh, I can't remember the 2 girls' names. But anyways, when they met up with that that sorceress woman,
Half Pipe.
Yeah, Half Pipe, and I can't remember the other one's name.
Yeah. I can't remember that one either.
Yeah, but Manny, well, what did you think of the art style?
The artwork, I agree with you, with all of you, in that it looks beautiful. But even though it looks really, really good, I was disappointed because I was expecting the cover art. When I saw that cover art, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be amazing. But and the interior, it looks amazing. But it was just one of those things that I was like, man, I wish they would have gone with the cover art. But it to me reminded me a lot of Eon Flux, that MTV cartoon from the 90s. So it kind of set me in that mood, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is a cyberpunk type of wasteland type of environment. Okay, so she's like the overlord, and it kind of, but I could immediately tell that there was so much more that happened before that. That's just, they just happened to see her right there, but obviously they have a lot of history. So it was interesting. It was interesting. I wouldn't mind reading it again for sure.
Yeah, especially if you read the first 2 stories as well. I think that might create more of a factor as to what's happening. But these books been going on since 2008, so they're not new. They're definitely not new. So
right,
definitely. And okay, I know we've got a few fans here who really enjoyed this book. This is Everfrost by cover artist as well as interiors Sammy Kivela, written by Ryan K. Lindsay. Hello, Ryan. Colorist Lauren Affe.
Lauren F. Yeah.
Lecturer, yeah, Jim Campbell, editor Dan Hill, and designer Phil Smith. Okay, I'll jump into you, Manny, because it seemed to me like this was one of your favorites.
Yeah.
What really stood out to you with
Oh
Everfront?
man, it's just a combination. First, the color palette, I absolutely love the muted tones, the blues and cold colors. That's how I call them. And then the main character being a black female is just the contrast is I love it so much. I love the character design, her psychic. Oh my god, I love it. I'm in love with this book. I swear, I'm in love with this book. Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect. This was my favorite from all the ones that we read.
Yeah, and going to you, Rabbit. So with the writing style, what really stood out to you?
Well, I thought the main unique thing was the way that they jumped from one to the other and then back again, and with a little bit of an ease. It really was a good story that they were telling with the main character and the sidekick, that the way they were talking and eating and continuing on with everything. That was I think the best part, like I said, the transitions that it did.
Yes. How about you, Tracy? What were your thoughts?
Me, I was just, this book is everything that I love from the book. It was just beautifully drawn. It reminded me very much of kind of like an 80s themed comic book, you know what I mean? That kind of the muted tones, like you're saying, Manny, the cold tones in it are beautiful. Such amazing dialogue back and forth between the main character and the sidekick, who is going to be my spirit animal for the rest of my life. But the story underneath it was it was beautiful. It was a really eloquently told, beautifully portrayed story of somebody needing to find what happened, you know?
Yes.
And again, having a beautifully intelligent, strong woman of color as the main character. It's just phenomenal. And you know, it just blew my mind. Every page I've read it 3 times. And I probably will continue rereading it inevitably for the rest of my life. It's just so good. It's just so good.
No, it really was. One thing that surprised me was those 2 velociraptor-looking monsters.
Yeah, the dragons.
Were actually lunch. I thought.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they were the hunters, but they were actually the prey.
Yeah. And the monkey, 8, the number. His name is 8, and he was talking about how much he enjoyed it, how delicious they were. I'm like, what the heck?
Wow.
Yeah. And it was great that those couple of panels are really fun as well, because you said you didn't know who was who.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yes.
And then that again, as 8 turns around and was like, all you want them to do is sit back and pat his tummy, you know?
Yeah.
I really like too. You've got here the empty panel with just text. Like that really brings back like the 80s style. It really does. It brings back, some of the older classic stories that we've seen from the 80s. The Walter Simonsons or the Claremonts of the world. We had those beautiful empty panels just with text to tell the story.
Yeah.
Good old classics. And and I mean they've even got the warm colors as well. Like look at the background art here, like just absolutely amazing.
It is.
And I love how they paneled it as well. I love how they're not sticking to traditional paneling.
Right.
Not at all in this comic at all. And I'm such an advocate for that in my own work and with other people as well, that we don't have to have the 3-page panel or the 4-page or the 6 or the 9. You can have it overlapping and bleeding in, and it just makes for a better read and visually. It really does.
And I noticed that the three main characters, the 3 main kick-ass characters, are 3 females. The main character, then the villain, the main villain, and then like the rebel, or
Yeah.
the one that came from the sky, like they say. And she was
Oh,
also a female. I'm like, wow, 3 female
Yeah.
strong character. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And no
no,
Charlie's Angels
definitely.
in sight.
Right. Yeah. True.
Yeah,
You know, they weren't working for some dude, like,
Yeah.
it's so good. It's just everything about this comic made me happy. It really
Yeah.
did, and high praise for it. The writer was really, they worked. You could see
Oh
the
my God, look
writer
at
and
that
the
page.
illustrator work together.
yeah, I
Look at it.
know, right?
Man, I'm
It's
in
kind
love
of
with
like,
that artwork.
Now, those bottom
yeah,
two panels, the way they work together, and just
Oh my
Yeah, it
God, I
really
love
was.
it. I love
really
it so
80s
much.
style.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know what it
2000
reminds?
AD. That's what it reminds me of. 2000 AD, only like cold
I
tones.
was, wow, she stole that from. I swear I was gonna say that. That or heavy metal. I look, great mind,
Heavy
great
metal.
mind. Yeah.
That's it, Manny. That's it. I got you. I got you.
Exactly. This is almost like a Game of Thrones spin-off, or like,
Yeah.
but with that, but with the science fiction feel to it as well. It's
Yeah.
just so good. It's really really well written. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would eat it
Yeah.
up every day. It's just
Yeah,
amazing.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, guys. Now we're going to be moving on to our next book, and I just had to make sure I wasn't taking LSD when I was like reading this. So just had to first double check
Yeah.
that. Okay, so this is Space Riders Vortex of Darkness #1. This is actually volume 3. Artist by Alex Zirit, written by Carlos Gifoli, and letters by Ryan Ferreira. Alrighty, who should I keep? Okay, Rabbit, I got you. I
right.
see you.
So
All right.
if you start looking through some of these pages, I read it, and then I went back and I started going through it, and I started counting how many panels didn't have any words. I this was really more of an art thing, and the way they did it was, and I said it earlier, it was more shock value than it needed to be. I think it was good, but it was over the top, kind of.
In the best way.
Yeah.
If this was
I
ever
think
made
if you
into a
actually-
movie, Bruce Campbell would be in it.
Hell yeah.
100%. Yes.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
But
It was
I think I
definitely
could
unique.
see like maybe 10 good tattoos within this book at least.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man! I swear we're connected. I swear, because I wrote specifically that the art looks like old tattoos. Man,
Right.
get the heck out of here. That's crazy.
Okay. All right, Manny, tell us what you really think. What did you like about this?
I really, this is my second favorite book of the 4 that we wrote, that we read. I know I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 80% sure that the creators are Mexicans. So I say that to say this: the style of this comic is like old, in Mexico, like in the 80s. They used to have this really cheap printed comics in this art style that was like tattoo art style. So it was cheaply produced. They had them at bars and stuff like that, and they didn't mean nothing to nobody. It was just random little art books or comic books. And now they're collectible. I mean, people can find them because nobody took care of them, so they're rare.
Right.
So the style is, I think they're harkening back to that style of, And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this looks just like these Mexican comics that I used to see. And it is very much in that vein. Look, the way I love that because to me, because I knew the creators were Mexican. I was reading it like Nacho Libre and Esqueleto. The ape and Muerte, La Muerte, which is the main character. I was reading it like he was Nacho Libre, and I was busting out laughing. I was like, "Oh my God, this works! This works!" And So that's what it is. They go above and beyond violence. It's like biker. It's almost like a biker gangs and stuff like that. So that's why I really enjoy about it. It's like it's harkening back to those times, to the very violent times in Mexico. In those times, it was pretty violent. So yeah, it's I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It's just it's not for everybody, obviously, but it's just fun. It's like a tattoo acid trip. It's basically what it is. Yeah, it's just what it is. It's crazy.
All right, Tracy, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you
Well,
think of this book?
what I wrote down was old school prison tattoos.
Yeah,
Bruce
I
Campbell
forgot
must
to
make this
leave
a
the prison
movie.
part out.
No, Bruce Campbell must make this a movie. And wow, it's 80s. And they were
yeah,
sentences I wrote. It looks like, remember the comics, and they were just like after a couple of weeks, pages went yellow because
yep,
and it was
yep,
that really thin.
Like
I could feel it in my
newspaper
hands.
style.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what like if we had one in our hands, that's what it's going to feel like. And it's a psychedelic trip, man.
Fingers.
Yeah, you can feel it, like it's tangible. But it's
yeah,
this complete psychedelic, crazy. It's kind of wants to be Terminator. It kind of wants to be like Ash and the Evil Dead. It kind of wants to be, and it kind of works.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
mean-
it's got all these kinds, but then when you push them together, it's like that wasn't
You know what
bad.
this is like? This is like a if you think about like a Jim Starlin type space odyssey type comic, but with really, really bad dialogue. That's what it's
Right.
like. It's like a movie with really
Right.
bad dialogue.
They use a
It
lot of
really
Spanish.
does. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's got really bad dialogue. Like some of the things that are spoken is like unnecessary. Like the F
yeah.
bombs left, right, and center. Like,
Yeah.
come on, not everyone in space is going to talk like they just came out of jail. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I also noticed? Back in the old days when they used to print those comics, the coloring was terrible. The print was terrible because sometimes it didn't match. It looked like out of away from the line and stuff like that. And the way they made the artwork in here, they did it like that in some parts on purpose. Obviously, that doesn't happen nowadays. The coloring is perfect when they print it.
Yes,
But
exactly.
they did it. The artist did it on purpose that it looks off. When you look at it, you're like,
Yeah.
wow, it looks like old comic book art. It's crazy.
It really does.
Yeah,
But I mean, this is a third volume. So obviously, when the creators started with the first volume, it worked because otherwise they would be out a long time ago. And I've seen this book in my local comic book store, not but this particular issue, but previous issues of Space Riders. So it is out there, but really out there.
yeah.
But
Oh
I
yeah,
can
it's out
see-
there.
I can see a lot of guys. Think about it. Think about the guys who are in their, mid-30s, early 40s, sitting in a rock bar, having their pint. This is the book they're going to read while they're listening to Megadeth.
True.
It is. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you just know it. And you just know that you're going to sit beside them and go, do you want a slice of pizza, man? And they'd be like, yeah, thanks. Read this. It's so good. And you'd be like, thanks.
Yeah.
That's the kind of book it's going to be. And why not?
The guys with the hair over their face. Yeah, you gotta read this book, man. It's really good.
Yeah. Like your hair is in your pint, man.
Yeah.
Man, this is not true.
Get all the peanuts out of your mustache.
Yeah, the beard's long.
I mean, you kind of know what to expect when the main character is like Darth Vader and Skeletor, and his motorcycle is a Cobra.
I know, right?
The front cover looks like Skeletor got a whole new outfit, and I was like,
Yeah.
is this going to be like a really camp Skeletor book? And then you go into it, and it's not.
Yeah. And like the dude has like a long beard. He looks like Alan Moore and
Yeah, I think at one point when he's gonna kill somebody, and you can see it in the reflection of the eye, he can see like a skeleton, like the skeleton, but it's almost like in his mind. So hopefully he turns into this character.
No, but I mean, it is very much out there, and I think you're right, Tracy. This will cover some some demographic of reader who would really enjoy this.
Yeah.
They just want to go out and have fun and not get too involved in what
Right.
what the comic book is like or what the character's like outside of the book. You know what I mean? Just go in, have a read, and enjoy.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
escapism at its best.
And
Yeah.
it's definitely a niche market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Not everything has to be Watchmen.
Right.
That's it.
No, indeed not.
Yeah. You don't have to be
Yeah,
part of the big two.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, we see a lot more color in this page here. I mean,
Oh yeah.
there is some like real beauty, and you're right. You mentioned before, Manny, that this is deliberately like one color tone. They
Oh,
don't
yeah.
try to be too perfectionist. But you mentioned how different the book would look if they really cared about the colors. Like, I wonder.
Oh, God.
It would sell as well.
If they have
Yeah.
Brian Harberling coloring or something like that, shoot. Yeah.
Or Alex
Look-
Sinclair.
Look at how beautiful that bottom that is. That bottom panel. Kaboom.
Kaboom!
You don't need anything else. And it's like
Can you
breaking
say
the
it with a
panel above
Mexican
it.
accent, Manny?
Kaboom!
There you go. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they must have just had fun making this. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
But and like all comics, each to their own. Like, we're laughing at the moment, but we're taking no dig at the creative team. We're not taking a dig.
Oh
at
no, I loved it.
For you, it's
Yeah.
absolutely it's your call. So
I mean, yeah,
know?
it catches the eye, definitely. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no doubt.
definitely.
I wouldn't change nothing on it. Honestly, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, so all right, so we're at the end of our slide. So I mean, what did you guys think of like Black Mask Studios, Tracy? What was the thing that stood out to you when we now captured 4 books, 4 titles? What really
Yeah.
stood out to you from the
The-
publisher?
The amazing ability to work with minority groups to bring out them as people that should be seen. I think the diversity that this company has,
Yeah.
even going through the comics. Like, think about it. We had a comic that was a young superhero female. We had a comic that was about crazy aliens. We had a dystopian world, and then we had just this beautiful comic with beautiful sidekicks. You can't get any more different than that. And like, again, if you go onto their site, like I said earlier on, they have a plethora of different things. So you will find something you like within their catalog. And just to be able to give and hold space and be a platform for other people who don't get to be seen in the larger, bigger companies is something that needs to be commended and shouted from the roof. Go to this company and pitch your idea because they're obviously open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what about you, Rabbit? What were your major takeouts?
And that's really the thing. It doesn't seem like they shackle any of their creators. They obviously give them freedom, and this
Free
is one of
reign.
the things that everybody should take note, because there's customers out there that don't want the same cookie cutter stuff. So this company is great for having that openness about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. How about you, Manny?
I agree with both with what they just said. It's very inclusive company. The creators obviously are allowed to have fun. They're allowed to tell the stories they want to tell. Very different types of stories. It's a shame, honestly, that I've never. This is the first time I read any of these books. I've never seen them at my local shop except God Killer. That's the only one I've seen.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I'm in love with Everfrost. I already contacted my local comic shop and I told them I need to have this. And Space Riders, I'm definitely gonna look for. So I hope that a lot of people can see this podcast and can get more. We can reach more people because I think more people needs to be reading these books.
Yeah, absolutely. And like these books are through Diamond, so they do distribute through Diamond, so you can definitely get it at your local comic book store. But I think the problem is, man, is that not a lot of people are like requesting for them. So the comic book shop's like, oh, should I have only like 2 issues of this book?
Right.
Or should I have 20? Do you know what I mean? Will they sell? And it's a
Yeah.
shame because you're right, because like you're a fan of Everfrost, you enjoyed it a lot, meaning that you're getting kneecapped because there's a book that you want, but your shop's not bringing it because no one else wants it. So it's sad.
Exactly.
But if I can add my 2 cents in there, so we bought 4 books, 3 of them had female leads. How good is that? Like,
It's amazing.
It's
amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, and I'm really happy. I just thought of it just now because, it really brings out like diversity in creators as well as the characters, and representation is needed in this world. And kudos to to Black Mask. But does anyone else want to have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Get yourself onto the site, sign up for their newsletter, follow them. If you're a creator, send them an email, because I have to be honest with you, I'm actually going to be sending them an email in the next couple of weeks with some of my stuff from the kids that I'm working with, because they have some amazing LGBTQ storylines that won't always get picked up here, but in the US maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you see anything you like, definitely ask at your store. I loved one of them myself, and I'm definitely going to be asking. I'm definitely going to also submit some of my books, considering that they're so open-ranged about it. I mean,
no doubt.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the great thing about these creators that we talk about on the shows, because I think nearly all of them, if I'm not mistaken, Manny, had submission links. So, I mean, gosh.
That's amazing.
The door's open. It's a matter of you taking the time and having a look if the door's ajar or not.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the worst thing anybody can say to you is no, thank you. And a good company will come back to you and give you constructive criticism and tell you where you went wrong, how to make it better, and then you go back to a drawing board, you rewrite it, and you submit it again, because that's how you're going to get forward in this type of community. And there are people out there who be your people. So find your tribe, man. Find your tribe and get out there.
No doubt.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for the SunderKatz. The next episode will be recorded in the next couple of weeks or so. Please check it out. Subscribe to Comic Crusaders so you can see more from the SunderKatz. Also check out our previous shows as well. But we haven't really tempted to try it yet, Manny. Anyways, well, we might do it next week, but we
gotta practice it. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta practice first. But
no Thundercat.
No.
You want to give it a try?
I'll do the whole.
We can try.
All right. Okay, so go one at a time. Sunder.
Katz.
A little bit off, but anyways, we'll practice the next episode. But thank you so much for joining us, and see you all next time.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites of the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.